Okay, welcome back to another exclusive YouTube interview right here on Dr. J Radio Live. We got four awesome people. Of course, I'm your host, Dr. J, and the three other incredible people we have is the world's largest UFO YouTube channel, Third Phase of Moon. We got Blake Cousins representing there. We got the Streaming Advisor YouTube channel, Ryan Downey, and Preston Dennett, MUFON researcher of 30 years, literally 3 decades, 17 books, and we got incredible topics that we're going to go over. The first one being Snowden spoke to Neil deGrasse Tyson about aliens trying to contact us. Blake, what is it that he said to Neil deGrasse?
Well, it's what he didn't say is what surprises me the most. And I was hoping if the alien agenda was going to be brought up in this conversation, I knew right away that Neil deGrasse is not a believer of aliens visiting planet Earth. So right away, that's a big red flag for me. So is Snowden doing what he does best in his own sense? Because he worked for the NSA, he knows how to keep secrets, and could maybe he might be working for the Russians now, and they might be telling him what to say in regards to is ET communicating with humans? Obviously, they are. He says, "Well, wow, maybe." We're not understanding what they're saying because they have an encryption. Well, he's a master of encryption. So that's kind of where my head's at on this Snowden breaking news.
Well, I'm actually really glad you said that real quick about the Russians because remember, when he went to Russia, part of the deal was that he couldn't release any more information on the surveillance. So you're right. Is he not telling us? Preston, what do you think of the fact that he actually talked about aliens? This is the first time I've ever heard the word aliens coming out of the word of Snowden's mouth.
Right. Well, I was waiting for it to come for sure because we know there's stuff out there, and it's hard to say because leaks like this are, I think, pretty controlled, even in Snowden's case, which he seems to be sort of a renegade. But I'm not sure if that's really what we're dealing with here. I think the information we're getting is very controlled, and as far as aliens encrypting messages, well, they have all kinds of ways of communicating with us through everything from radios and cell phones, and not just radio signals, but if they have a message they're going to transmit, I don't think they're going to have if they want to hide something from us, that's certainly not a problem. They're very much in control of the whole situation. I think more than even our government.
Hey guys, I got a quote here. This is a direct email. I spoke to Seth Shostak today. He runs the SETI Institute, the Center for Investigation for Extraterrestrial Life, I believe SETI, right? And this is what he said. I sent him the article. Snowden says aliens could be trying to get in touch right now. And this is his response. Well, this article is kind of silly, but I'm to be a speaker on a 3-day cruise in November that'll also include Mr. Snowden. So maybe I can find out what he was really trying to say. Simply appealing to encryption shows he doesn't really understand how SETI works. Cheers, Seth. I'm really interested in that.
Well, wait, hold on. That's the here we go again. So this guy Seth over there at the SETI Institute. Do we trust this guy? No way do I trust what SETI has to say. He just said it in his statement about Snowden. Aliens trying to communicate with humans on planet Earth. If they wanted to try, they don't need to try. They already have and are doing it right now.
That's right. Preston, for 3 decades, I was uncovered that not only have they been visiting us for years, not just 3 decades, not just 3 centuries, not just 3 millennia, but according to Linda Moulton Howe, they've been terraforming Earth for 270 million years to get to us, to Homo sapiens being us. And apparently, according to Linda, the last fireball to kill off the dinosaurs was by them. The Noah's flood, the giant flood to kill off Neanderthal and Homo erectus was to get Homo sapien off. What do you guys think about that? Ryan, what do you think about that?
Well, I was just thinking about the idea. It's so hard to prove a negative.
Mm.
You can't prove that aliens aren't trying to communicate because the only evidence we've got is that we haven't heard from aliens.
Well, that's the thing is Blake, they get video 10, 15, 20 times a day. Obviously it's for the people to decide. There's a lot of hoaxes out there, but there's a lot of legitimate stuff that we can't deny. For instance, the Google stuff you guys found about Antarctica or the crash in Canada. Preston, did you ever get a chance to hear about that? They have a video where it showed coordinates, and they got, people, a recent crash this year in Canada on an Indian reservation.
No, I haven't heard about that, but I'm not surprised. These UFO crashes are far more common than people realize, and most of the stuff is still being covered up. The cover up is still, very active as far as physical evidence, and particularly when it comes to UFO crashes. Yeah, and as far as aliens communicating with us, yeah. Well, I agree with what Blake is saying, that they've been doing it for a long, long time, and are very much, as I said earlier, involved with humans in a very intimate way. So yeah, they're communicating with all kinds of people from the government level all the way down to the grassroots level. And like you said, they're been controlling us for a very long time. We're kind of their experiment. I mean, if you're going to be honest, they've been very much intervening in our lives for a very, very long time.
This is hey Preston, how's it going? It's Blake Cousins. Appreciate it. You know what? I want to ask you a question, Preston, about this. Right here at Third Phase, like John was saying, we get a lot of contacts from around the world. We kind of have a pulse on what's going on. It seems, well, it's
Right?
not what it seems. It seems like we got the pulse, and one of the pulses we've been having for about a month and a half now is this September thing coming up, September 23rd. Have you gotten any kind of info from people, just friends from around the world talking about this?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I've heard, several different versions. There's going to be an economic collapse, was one that I heard. Another was that Nibiru, that the twin star or whatever it
I
is.
think
Planet
I've
X.
gotten about maybe 30 photos of Nibiru over the
Right.
past couple of days, just from all over the world.
And
It,
I'm
whatever that
skeptical
is.
of doomsday scenarios. I can't help it because I've seen so many come and go. This started right when I got into UFO research. This sort of thing would happen, and then it would pass, and then it would happen, and then it would pass. So I don't know quite what to think of all of this, but yeah, I have heard of it, and honestly,
Let,
I am a little nervous about the way things are going with society in general. I mean, with the wars and the economy and so on. So
I want to get Ryan's takes on this, but let me throw in one thing about the doomsday scenarios. You're absolutely right. We are at a pinnacle right now with the finances. I mean, the banking system's out of control. Just a click of a button, and we're all screwed in essence, and everything. But the doomsday scenarios go back forever. Literally, not just to the time of Christ 2,000 years ago, but in 1666 there was a great fire in London. If you were in the center of London, you couldn't see out except fires around you. What did you think was happening when in the year ended 1666? What you saw was 666, and the world was burning around you. To you, it was the end of the world. So, Ryan, what do you think about that? This CERN reactor could cause the collapse or the financial meltdown, or maybe final visitation, whatever it may be that everybody's talking about.
Well, it just reminds me a lot of when we were looking at 2012. There was some people saying this is going to be the end of the world. Some people were saying it's going to be a spiritual awakening. But there's going to be something. And like I believe it was Preston was saying, it came and went. So sometimes I think that people are fueling the conversation just you know, build audience or something like that.
You know what, Ryan? That's absolutely. I totally concur with that statement. And what I'm just saying here is that the scientists at CERN themselves are saying that they don't know what's going to happen, that they're trying to create or open up multidimensional states, that they're trying to figure out what was the Big Bang and maybe even make many black holes. And they don't even know what's going to happen. So these guys are in charge, and they're in charge of the most powerful machine ever created by man that we know of. And they're doing these experiments and they don't know what's going to happen. So
Well, let me jump in and say one thing. They've been successful at making back black holes. The problem is they can't sustain them long enough. That they've already done that. They've already been able to smash the
do we want to
particles.
sustain it is a big question. And maybe they do.
Thank you.
That's There's
Yes.
some scary thoughts. But yeah, maybe on September 23rd, 2015, it might come and go. But with all the chatter what's going on, maybe something is going to go down. But hey, we might as well as not have heard about it because that's what they do. They hide a lot of stuff. So we might not never know what happens on September 23rd, except a normal day.
Right.
And then,
So,
not to mention, the next day, the Pope's coming to visit, and a lot of chatter that that's also going to bring some end of the world scenario of what he's going to announce. I mean, that's the chatter that I've been hearing.
it might be the end of someone's world. He's been making a lot of people mad in the U.S. A lot of conservatives. Maybe he's going to say he's gay.
Well,
I'd like to hear him
they,
say something about UFOs, which would be, very interesting.
well, the Vatican's definitely been setting up for UFO disclosure for a long time. If any one religion has been putting things out there more than anyone, it's them. First of all, they have the world's largest telescope, and its name is Lucifer. It's actually Lucifer is an acronym, but why would they name it Lucifer? That's one thing, and they keep releasing stuff, from the actual Vatican about ETs for the last few years.
Well,
So
they
you're
have to
absolutely
know the
right.
truth. I mean, if they're sitting on all that wealth and knowledge, they have to know the truth of what's really going on in this situation,
Well,
as far as not only UFOs, but the whole economic system and who's controlling the world and so on, because they're a part of it.
well, let me ask you guys this, and Blake, maybe you've seen some footage of this. I've actually heard there was a episode of that unsealed alien files, Vatican UFOs, and they showed pictures of apparently an ET that's buried deep in the catacombs with the Pope going back to the 7th century. So apparently they live there. Some of they just as they live in underground bases such as Dulce, New Mexico.
Well,
Blake?
yeah, Dr. J, I'm just thinking about the CERN thing and going back to it again real quickly is why do they have the statue of Shiva out in front? And it
Yeah.
represents what does it represent? The destroyer of universes. Is this a wink wink kind of thing? Is this some kind of sick joke? You would have thought they would have put something else in front of as they destroy atoms. So maybe they are destroying universes that are within atoms, that universes and civilizations that we don't even know about, and they're annihilating them as an
Well,
experiment. You never know.
let me let me bring this around full circle back to Snowden. I mean, this goes back to what he said. Speaking of end times, obviously this U.S. surveillance on the world is enormous. In that movie Citizen 4, Snowden revealed, or they revealed, that at any given time there are 1.2 million people on the watch list, meaning fully watched at any level, from every monitor to every position to every camera, as opposed to the whole world being recorded through metadata. If that's happening already, what is going on with this electronic equipment? Because I have a friend, actually, Blake, you know him, Joe Kiernan. When the TV switched from analog to digital, he bought a second box for his home, and he opened it. Inside is a camera and a microphone. 2007, David Petraeus, or 2010, one of the years. I don't have the article in front of me. He is quoted as saying, "We now have the capability to turn on your recording device on your um, laptop or your smartphone without you knowing about it." Can you imagine that they're watching you right now, recording it, and you not knowing about it? I mean, couldn't that be something that is leading us to the end of the world?
Or the beginning of a new world too. That's what I'm thinking.
I
Once
think that's
once you
yes.
connect the planet as one and you get to share it at the light speed of light to the world will be enlightened. And this is prophecy in its own sense, but prophecy maybe not from Jesus or God or whatever, but it makes a lot of sense that we will see it all as one when the second coming comes, enlightenment, whatever it is. I believe it's alien involvement, but hey, maybe this technology is a good thing and maybe not so much for the end of the world. Preston, what are we being spied on right now? Obviously we are. What do you think?
Oh, I have no doubt about it. I have no doubt about it. From the beginning, when I started doing this UFO research, my UFO mail would come back opened. I've had phone problems and email problems from the beginning and continuing to the present day. I have no doubt about it. I've heard that. I've done some research into this. The little game Angry Birds is actually just a global tracking device. That's its real purpose. So it's very pervasive. It goes very deep. It's very bad news in a lot of ways, I think, to the level that we're being spied on. Absolutely. I don't think people realize how bad it really is. What the end result is going to be is, I think, like you said, Blake, going to kind of be the reverse of what they wanted. It's bringing us all together. It's an information age, and I don't know, but stuff is going to go down. This can't go on the way it is.
You know what I'm wondering is, there are so many people who are concerned about privacy issues, and yet people can't stop buying smartphones, with GPSs in them, and they keep buying these systems like the Amazon Echo or the Xbox One. I laugh when people say, "What you do is you say Xbox stop listening," and then it doesn't listen anymore. And I say, "Well, then how does it know to come back on?" Like, oh, well, you tell it to start listening. I said, "Well, then it's listening all the time." I mean, and like I'm not concerned, that people are listening to me at this point. But the thing is, if you know that there's a recording device always in your home, it's just waiting for you to say start listening. I mean, then somebody could get on the other side of it. I mean, how hard could it possibly be?
Right.
You
Well,
know,
I
because
understand.
we've already had people like hackers that got onto girls' webcams and sold their pictures and and things like that. And these were just nobodies.
Right. They have
Computer hack
buzzwords.
guys.
When
Well,
the word UFO comes up, that's a buzzword, or things like this. And then they start, paying attention to that, because they obviously can't listen to every darn phone call out
well,
there.
you guys are absolutely right, but let me close this out, or at least say this, and I want to get everyone's final thoughts on this. Way Snowden basically described it is it's not so much that you have someone on the other end listening to all three of us talk right now, and what the YouTube viewers are seeing right now as we're recording this. It's that the moment we picked up this phone conversation, or this conversation that we're being recorded, this data, like speech recognition software, has been typed up, and every single one of your emails has been cross-checked with text messages, with friends, and the world. It's linked up with the world. That is what's happening on a global scale with 7 billion people who are on the internet or smartphones or whatever. That is how they're monitoring. It's supercomputers with bases on NSA bases all around the world, like the biggest one, the biggest one, the most sophisticated one, codenamed Echelon in the UK. I'd love to get you guys' final thoughts on that and any of these stories. Let's start with Ryan and work our way to the third phase of Moon.
Okay, so I think that it would make sense that there might be software that could do that. I know that there's libraries of information, that people are sort of unaccounted for. I've seen just regular news stories, not even anything underground, where people were talking about listening to conversations of people overseas, listening to husbands and wives, just things like that, and they actually felt kind of bad, kind of about listening to all the conversations. But I'm wondering if people look at this and say, well, what if someone's trying to go blow up another building? Well, don't we want to know? I mean, the things like that. But people turn over a lot of their own privacy for the feeling of safety. And
Preston,
Um,
what do you say?
well, privacy is really an illusion, from a spiritual level. We're all very much connected as one. So at some point, if we were all truly an honest society, there would be no reason for any of this. Um, and I think that's what we're going to move towards. But right now, we're at this critical point where there's this section of society who's spying on us and looking for power. And I think they're crumbling, and there's a new age coming, and I'm just not sure how it's going to go down. So I think it's a very
Blake,
interesting time to, yeah.
see, Blake, what do
Yeah,
you think?
yeah, very interesting. Well said, both Ryan and Preston. You know what's interesting as well is that fact there's been over 130 billion souls that have lived on this planet since the beginning of mankind. So we're here now because of that. And in real time, we're living in a situation that is the epitome of what humankind can do, over 130 billion souls. So the big question is, are we going to wake up? Are we going to understand that, hey, this division and this divide is a waste of time? This invasion of privacy is going nowhere except giving the big boys power, and that's not going anywhere. So what we need to do is band together as humankind after 130, again, 130 billion souls. It's important. Dr. J, Preston, Ryan, everybody, thanks. I got to post this up on Third Phase of Moon. It's quite incredible. You could continue this situation. This is Blake Cousins. We'll see everybody again next time.
Absolutely, and let me say with this final story is I've made two great, amazing documentaries with Third Phase of Moon. We had the great pleasure of working with the great Dr. Roger Lear before he passed away. He was the alien implant surgeon who had removed successfully 17 implants and had them tested that had metals that come from that aren't even in this galaxy. They have sound signals that are being emitted to deep space. I mean, someone's receiving in really deep space, and just anomalies that create things that non-magnetic. They turn them into magnetic. And I think just all of this is insane. He told me a great story, and I want to link this all up. I think it's very important what you guys said, the unity. Well, apparently he believes the story, the Tower of Babel, the way it's told in the Bible, where we spoke in tongues, all of a sudden, it wasn't that we were speaking in tongues. It's that up until that point, we all had telepathy, and we were speaking with our minds. Therefore, there were no lies. There were no facades that we were putting up front. And then, therefore, something happened where either the ETs, the creators, whoever was watching us basically shut that part of our mind off. And that was the first time we were verbalizing things and speaking in tongues. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody who came on. Check out, of course, Third Phase of Moon is the world's largest UFO YouTube channel. Check out my radio show, Tuesdays and Thursdays live with top guests. You can hear people like Preston call and ask questions. And of course, they are posted right here on YouTube. And you will also get to see exclusive YouTube interviews such as Story Musgrave, astronaut Story Musgrave, talking about terraforming planets. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, Six Men on the Moon, talking about alien bases on the moon. Foster Gamble, the billionaire heir to Procter & Gamble, talking about everything. I just think it's fantastic. So check out drjradiolive.com for the show information, and of course this channel, DRJ Radio Live, Dr. J Radio Live, and Preston Dennett's website. It's prestondennett.weebly.net. Is that right, Preston?
Oh, that's right.
That's right. prestondennett.weebly.net.
Or .com.
.com, prestondennett.weebly.com, and we're going to put a link for this. And of course, Ryan's channel, the Streaming Advisor. Is it the Streaming Advisor? Go ahead and plug it in, Ryan.
It is the Streaming Advisor.
That's right, everybody. We hope you enjoy this, and we hope you guys join us on the live shows. And if you want to be a part of these fantastic YouTube exclusive interviews, just reach out to us. You know, we bring in all the guests. You could see the guests lists of the videos that are already up. There's 300 more coming of old shows, so you guys got plenty to check out from. That being said, this is Dr. J. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Plenty more to come.